change the world right here with us, because we are the best environment to do that in, financially and every other way. And if you're from the outside, you come to recognize that very quickly, that one thing this country has is opportunity. I mean, the American dream is by no means dead. I mean, it just really pains me when I hear people say, oh, the American dream is dead.
How can you help us, though, continue to help you? First, please subscribe to the channel. Like us. If you listen to the audio version, leave us a 5-star review wherever you can. If you see our posts, please share those posts, share the content, and link back to our law firm website, which helps us to continue our SEO marketing and grow our firm and help small business owners. All right, everyone, welcome back to another show. I'm your host, Mitch Beinhaker, and welcome to the Accidental Entrepreneur. I always remind everybody, if you are listening on your favorite directory and you can leave us a review, please leave us a 5-star review so we can keep connecting with entrepreneurs like Gorm. You're going to meet in a minute. He's done all kinds of stuff and has all kinds of stuff going on. Like typical entrepreneurs, can't sit still. They always got something going on that they're working on. I remind everybody that the information we share in these episodes is for entertainment purposes only. It's not to be considered advice of any kind. So if you hear anything that we discuss on the show, whether it's this show or another show, always check with local licensed professionals before making any decisions. And neither Gorm or I are liable for anything that you hear from us, but hopefully it'll get you on your journey. Gorm, thanks for coming on the show. I forgot to ask you, where are you located?
We're in Branson, Missouri. So,
okay, so you're right in the middle of the country.
Right in the middle of the country. Thanks for having me this morning, Mitch.
No, I appreciate it. All right, well, why don't we go back and tell your story? Because I know you started, I think, in the furniture business in Nashville, was it?
Yeah. I'm from Denmark originally. So when I finally came back in 1982, I came back on the backside of a graduate study in setting up a subsidiary company for the largest Danish furniture manufacturer at the time. I had kind of worked my way there, to try to get me back to the States. And after a while doing that, I partnered with my two bosses, and we opened like my first entrepreneurial enterprise in Nashville, Tennessee, with this Scandinavian furniture store, back way before IKEA and people knew what knockdown furniture was, and that whole idea of putting stuff together yourself was novel, and we wound up putting a lot of
This was a retail store. This was a retail direct-to-consumer store.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
We were
so you paved the way for IKEA, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole idea, right? We were trying to, of course, IKEA had to use a lot of money and muscle to really get that concept to sit, and we wound up assembling a lot of furniture, because people didn't quite get their head around it. But that was okay, stylistically and everything else, we fit a market that was new. Nashville was a rather traditional market, but we had been very successful on the wholesale side of the business. Getting it in broad-based placement with furniture stores around the Midwest. So we figured that was a good thing to pursue. So.
Is that why Nashville was kind of located closer to the people you were doing business with, or?
No, it wasn't really. It was kind of equidistant from everything. We would ship overseas directly into Nashville, so it didn't really matter, where we were. But as far as the adaptation of that type of stuff, Nashville was in the early stages of its growth back then. Davidson County was 680,000 people, and the airport was hanging upside down, and they weren't quite on the program yet, not like they are today. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Then how many years ago was that? How far back?
Oh gosh, we opened the store in 1986.
Oh, long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
Okay, so what's that? 30 years? Yeah, 30 years.
Yeah.
No. 40 years.
40 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, and you were, but you were working for these two guys, or you were one of the partners?
Originally I was working for them. They were the U.S. sales manager and the export manager for this large Danish furniture company, and we were in the wholesale business together. But then we decided that they left the company, I left with them, and they had a wholesale division, but we wanted to open a retail division. So Nashville was supposed to be the first of several stores that were, going to start that process. So.
Got it. You planned on growing a chain of, of retail stores.
Yeah.
All right. So take me through that. What happened with that business?
Well, like in all good, well-made plans, they tend to blow up sometimes, and at the time we were going into one of these recessionary things.
Yeah.
If anybody remembers the yuppies, that were basically our core target market, very well defined. The only problem was, as we were getting into the late 80s, the yuppies got laid off, and we had a contraction in the economy. The exchange rate, notably on the dollar, became very unfavorable. So our costs were going up, and our customers were getting laid off. So that was not a good intersection to be in. So
Yeah, not a good recipe for success.
no, not really.
Right. So what happened? You ended up having to close all the stores, or?
Yeah, we ended up closing it. I went through a negotiated settlement with my bank. Basically.
Right.
I called them in and told them they had like $250,000 worth of unassembled Scandinavian furniture, and I had two choices. I could help, put it together and sell it, or I could just walk off the stage, and
Right.
and they were good enough. We came to a settlement on what the number would be that would get us out of it with the bank. So we worked our butts off and brought the business to an orderly shutdown. I still had a lot of debt that I carried for the years to follow. And I learned some expensive lessons, many of which I used to, navigate later. So,
Right. So then you went on to another venture, but you still had debt from the prior business that you were personally liable for, or you
Yes.
and your partners were liable for?
yeah, exactly. I mean, like sales tax, for instance, my attorney had advised me not to worry about sales tax. Well, that lasted till about New Year's that day. And they showed up at the front door and put a lien on my house and said, "You've been served," and so
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why I was given that advice. I've always wondered that, but anyway, so that was one of the things, obviously, in the following years that I had to clean up, So
Yeah. Well, sales tax is really other people's money that you're supposed to send
It
to the
is.
government. And
Yes,
it tells you
exactly.
not worry about it.
No. So yeah.
Okay.
So
Don't take that advice, anybody listening.
no,
Make
for
pay
sure not.
people's money and
No.
pay your sales tax.
Always pay the tax man. Yeah, it's not. It needs to be a top priority. So
Yeah. So how long did that whole workout take in terms of paying things down and negotiating? And do you remember?
It took me 5 to 6 years to get
A long
everything, paid down. But I managed to get everything paid down. I had some health issues at the time too that exacerbated the situation, and so subsequently, actually on the sales tax, which is kind of interesting because that kept accruing interest at an enormous
interest
rate.
Penalties, right?
So I wound up settling with the state because, and they took a lot of it off because I could demonstrate that I had been in Boston for extensive surgeries the last year of the business, and
Hardship.
hardship shut down.
Right.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think as scary as the taxing authorities are, they also understand that if they put you out of business, they're not going to get paid at all. So
Yeah.
and they need money so usually I do workouts for clients in that regard, so they'll lower it or they'll do a payment plan or they'll work with you because they need, they're trying to raise revenue, get their money.
The thing I learned, I think, from that whole thing was the real takeaway was communicate with your debtors. I mean, don't just walk off. You tell somebody, listen, I'm in trouble, I need some help here, what can we do? And I did that with the landlord. Typically in a business like that is the other one, right? I mean, we had 10,000 square feet on West End Avenue just down from Vanderbilt University, right? So I had two young landlords back then. Fortunately, because I was telling them that things weren't going so well, they were in a position to go out and find another tenant, and so for them it became actually a good thing because they freed it up and they got more out of the building than they did before, and I got off the hook for the remaining part of the lease, which is another one that will get you right. So
I think landlords, they get nervous when they don't hear from you and they think you're going out of business, and they take legal action. It costs them money and they just lose money. You're much better off working with your landlord to help them to mitigate the damages that you're causing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Just take a seat at their side of the table and try to understand what it looks like from there. I mean, it's your responsibility. You're not entitled to anything from them. They took a risk on you. You took a risk on the business. And if it goes sideways, I mean, just being open and transparent about it, in my experience, is the best way to deal with it.
Yeah. Because, and they don't need the aggravation and the time and the money and all that kind of stuff, when they know when they have the confidence that you're there to help them. Look, businesses fail and they struggle, right? And
Yeah.
if you're open with your creditors, the only thing they're just looking to do is get out of this as cleanly as they can.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
everybody takes risk in business, but if somebody stops talking, everybody panics, right? And
Yeah,
and
right.
so I mean that's just manage the panic in the book that I wrote, Immigrant Entrepreneurship in America. You'll find a section in there where I liken it to an emergency landing in an airplane and how you manage that, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
you stay ahead of it. You don't let the
Right.
emergency catch up with you, because that normally doesn't pan out very well, so-
Right, yeah, you don't just land and not tell anybody that you're.
No, you don't land or tell anybody, or start fixing things in the wrong order because you may just forget to fly the airplane, and
Right.
that's kind of like the top of the list,
Yeah,
So,
exactly. No. So then you went off and you started another business, or did you take a job during that period of time, or?
So I had gotten to be good friends with the president of Belmont University at the time, and of course
Okay.
he knew a lot of people in the community, and he got me put together with Andrew Sun. Andrew Sun was a Taiwanese businessman that was in the coal business, and
Okay.
he was one of Chiang Kai-shek's good friends back when Chiang Kai-shek was running Taiwan,
Yeah.
and he had all these mines in South Carolina, and so he was multi-billionaire and basically supplying Taiwan with all the American coal that they would ever need, and of course every good Oriental or Asian company has a trading department, right? They'll
Yeah.
sell anything. I mean,
Right.
so I got a kind of a freelance deal with $1,000 a month stipend to go in there and sell whatever. I mean, this was before the internet, right? So the only resource you really had was the Thomson Register, which was a huge encyclopedia of all companies in the United States, and so I was trying to sell everything from Euro pallets to Deutsche Bundesbahn to Levi's jeans to the Russians, and everything was on a telex, and the head of the department was a retired Secretary of State under Ronald Reagan. So it was an interesting setup.
Yeah.
So in the process, one day I'm watching CNN, and they have this in-vehicle parking meter that they show. It looks like a little calculator, with an LCD display on it. It shows decrementing time, right? And I thought, well,
Okay.
Denmark rains all the time. This would be a good thing for Denmark. And I videotaped it and replayed it till I could finally made out Duncan Industries, right? And I went to the Thomson Register and found them in Harrison, Arkansas, and reached out to him and said, hey, listen, is this something you want to sell in Denmark? And one thing led to another, and before you know it, I was meeting with the city engineer in Copenhagen, talking about this thing and talking about they had some automated parking enforcement using handheld equipment. And of course, it was very unusual back then that somebody would contact the city of Copenhagen from the U.S., right? I mean, that was
Yeah.
not heard of. And so I always had success just because of the fact that I was far away. And so, started working with them. And then that led to a product development, role for me as a consultant. So I entered my...
At that point, you were a rep for the Taiwanese company, and then wholesaling these products for them?
Yeah,
Or
well,
how was-
we never really got into this specific thing. I was just like freelance. If I got something,
Got
they
it.
got a percentage or whatever. And
Got
so the exit for me was, well, I'm just gonna thank you. Whatever business we did is fine. And it was a very loose relationship, no real contract or anything.
Got it.
Just kind of a place for me to be. So it worked out really well. I mean, I could exit without any repercussions, and so then I started as a new products research and development consultant for Duncan Industries, and I knew nothing of electronics. I mean, I knew about furniture. I had an interest, I had a curiosity about electronics, which many people
That wasn't
did.
your background.
Yeah, I mean, it was,
Yeah.
early 90s, the advent of the PC, networking
Right.
was the new thing, all that stuff. I mean, everybody was an expert because there were no experts. So,
Right.
so,
And this was the parking meter company in Kentucky,
no, in Harrison, Arkansas.
in Arkansas. Okay.
Yeah. So,
Got it.
So eventually, that's what brought me over to the Ozarks. Was the project grew bigger than me, and what was a consulting thing turned into a job as the director of business development and engineering for years. And so I came in as a change agent for the company and helped them change from mechanical meters to electronic, meters that were connected to a software management system that I helped develop at the time. So.
Got it. But you're not an engineer.
No.
No. But
No.
you were the head engineer.
Yeah, I became our engineer was a super gentleman, and he died from cancer in his 40s. Mm-hmm. And I had been really involved with as part of the product development thing with the engineering department to make sure that we would develop to needs and not to fantasies, right? I mean,
right.
A lot of product development is about somebody getting smart, and they have the next mousetrap and all this other stuff, but they forget to see if it has any relevance in the market.
Right. It just be a great product and nobody cares. They don't want to buy it. Right?
That's right. You don't have the relevance.
Right?
Exactly. I mean, success is all about being relevant, right? So,
Yeah.
But a lot of times people don't go look for that first. They just go out and proclaim.
They see if they're going to be right, and then they spent the money already, and they develop the product, and nobody cares.
Nobody cares, and they go, "Wow, surprised it isn't selling."
Right. You need the answer before you do that.
And you start with that going, is there a need for that? Then maybe we'll invest more money. It's just too logical, right?
Yeah.
So my president at the time allowed me a lot of leeway. I was put in an interim role where I reported to him and had no staff, but I got all the big cities in the United States, and I was the head of product development. And we developed specifically to this new integrated revenue management and maintenance management module software that we had come up with, and said, okay, that's where we stand to gain the most. So I was in charge of those accounts.
So because you would sell the system to the municipalities, let's say, and they would use it to monitor and collect their revenue, right?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, so cities like New York, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles all eventually wound up replacing their meters with meters that were integrated to a management software package, right? So.
Yeah, and Duncan became the leader in that?
Oh, yeah, Duncan originally was, like the first company or the second company actually get in the meter business back in the 1930s. And they have gone through a cycle where the mechanical meters were being replaced in Europe. They were using pay terminals. You have those in New York now where you go up and or you either vend a ticket or you enter something with a phone or something like that. That was the vogue in Europe.
Yeah, they were ahead of us.
Right. Yeah. But we managed to, because of the legacy of the meter hardware that was everywhere, all we needed to do was put a new head on it. So we used that with the software to go, well, you don't have to go make all these replacements. You can just replace the meter head and you'll have all the data that you need.
Which is like the guts of that's the electronic stuff at the top, right?
Exactly, yes. Yeah.
Because the bottom is just a box that holds coins or whatever.
Yeah, that's exactly. So nobody had to replace any of the shell and all the defensive stuff there to not make it, make it
people can't break
in and stuff like that.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So you were really an employee of that company, right?
Yeah.
How long were you with Duncan?
About 10 years.
Okay, and did you did you develop any of the patents or file any patents, or the patents were all old?
I have several patents that were filed during the time that I was there. One is for integrated systems, and that's the whole idea of integrated. The parking meter head to back end thing was one of the patents that I helped write, and some other patents on multi-head meters using a single meter head as the engine and things of that nature. So I got very involved in the engineering part of it and learned a ton. I had some wonderful, wonderful people that I worked with, and we really got a rapport going where there was a mutual respect around this whole thing of developing for purpose, right? Which changed the business completely. When I started at Duncan, they were about a $10 million company, and over the years we multiplied that, many times, and made it a very successful business from kind of having been a bottom tier sort of a startup, So
because they were doing it the old way, right? Since
exactly.
You put the money in, you go, they collect, the meter maids come and take the money, and
it didn't change. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so in those days, there wasn't any networking. We didn't have Bluetooth, we didn't have wireless, nothing like that. So
No.
they had to go with a device and plug it into the meter, and then it would download the information?
When they collected the meters, we would collect all the data, both the maintenance data and the reconciliation data on what was supposed to be in the corn, the corn can, and then the cans through a secure mechanism would go into a larger receptacle, right? And a lot of money was lost back in the old days between that until they actually arrived at the corn counter house, right?
Yeah.
So
what would they do? They'd swap out the unit with a new unit, and then
well, they basically just emptied the meter. If you imagine that little piggy bank that was sitting in there, and dumped that into a money tank that had a when the two went together, they would unlock and dump the money, and then they could just put the can back.
The money could go in, but it couldn't come out, supposedly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Got it. Okay. So what happened after 10 years? Did you move on? Did you stay in that industry?
So after 10 years, we had built the company up substantially, and we were actually put up for sale by Dover. But as the business grew, this had been sort of a business in decline, and there were 3 major meter companies in the world, and 2 in the U.S. and 1 in Canada. And it became very, it's municipal offering and bids and all this stuff. So it became bigger money because these were wholesale replacement. Imagine the city of Los Angeles, for instance, we replaced 40,000 parking meters. That's huge. I mean, up to that point, we had been supplying replacement parts and stuff for mechanical meter heads, right? And all of a sudden, we take out 40,000. So the numbers grew astronomically. And parking, and this whole thing with parking became, a lot more public. And you do business with the government. One of the important lessons I learned there is you work in the public domain, and parking is not a popular activity. It's especially on-street parking. People hate it. It's there for a reason, normally poorly articulated by the owners of the system, so that people would understand why that whole thing is in place. But it's very political. So the bidding process, larger companies started coming in, wanting to buy their way into the market, which meant the market became increasingly political, right? That was a realm that we had never played in. I mean, the first big installation we did was with Washington, D.C., and we did that with Lockheed Martin back in the day, and when, Marion Barry was the mayor. You remember that whole thing, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, so all of a sudden meter collections in Washington, D.C. went up significantly, and that was really the core of it. So we became much more visible in the general, realm of things. Things became increasingly political in the way that they had to be handled.
They put out an RFP, and people would get competitive by paying people off. All kinds of stuff.
Yes, and then there was the whole issue of whether people's technology really worked or not. It was all new.
Right.
So we ran into, and of course we weren't popular with the meter departments, you can imagine. So we ran into a thing on the
you're putting people out of work. They're not going to need as many people to do all this stuff, right?
That, and then sort of like the missing delta between what's on the post and what's in the coin counting room, So, we ran into a situation in Los Angeles where we were getting, some political flag, and all of a sudden we found ourselves in a realm of something that we weren't, 1, prepared for, 2, had any history in at all.
Yeah.
And without going into too many details, it got political. And we were owned by Dover Corporation in New York, and they were in oil equipment and all kinds of other stuff. So this was, definitely out of the ordinary. And in the middle of all that, we got to a point where there was just not the comfort level with the vision for how we move forward, and we severed ties. So. Got it.
Did you end up with any equity in that company that you got bought out on?
No. I was just a straight employee. I mean, but I mean, those years were amazing. I mean, it was an amazing journey. I mean, I got to work with mayors like Marion Barry, not him directly, but Mayor Brown in San Francisco, and it was just crazy. I mean, it's just, it was, as an immigrant, all of a sudden sitting in the mayor's box at the 49ers game is kind of a mind-blowing thing, right?
Yeah.
So I got behind some curtains that most people don't get to go behind.
Right.
There were some good things and some bad things discovered back there, but nevertheless, it was an experience. So.
All right. So you left what was Dover Corporation at that point, and what was the next? You must have made some plans before you severed ties. So what?
Yeah, I could see things were not really going on rails. So I started looking at other opportunities. What's out there? And I started going back to international again because I thought, okay, I've got my roots in Europe. Speak the languages and
natural market.
Grew up there. It's a natural place to go be a conversion agent. I had taken a stab at that earlier on, after the furniture store as well. So one day,
like bring products overseas to the United States. That was your
Okay. Yeah. So one day I'm reading a parking magazine, and I see this article from a company, called NetApp in Holland, and they talk about electronic payments with with mobile phones.
Okay.
And I thought, wow, that would be cool. And so I started researching that. And the internet was just in its early stages, so that was
like early 90s, right?
Yeah, it was huge, right? Because all of a sudden I had this research tool that I wasn't used to having, and I started nailing down who the major players in mobile parking were in Northern Europe, and reaching out to them and finding out what that looked like. And in the process, I found out they had one thing going for them that we didn't have at the time, which was they had one cell standard. We had 3 at the time in the U.S. We now are on the same standard that they had in Europe early on, but that was a much more reliable standard.
I remember there was different, right, depending on the carrier we were with, they used different things.
Exactly. And they were trying to box you in by the technology they were using. So, but in the process, I drove down to NetApp and visited with them, and I come in and they had this beautiful factory, modern art, modern building, people in lab coats, and I was just blown away.
Where was this?
Maybe you're getting your calendaring from one software and you're invoicing from another. Evenoo is a platform that we use as one of our sponsors to run our entire business. And there's other features like auto payments and integrations with QuickBooks. Visit evenoo.com, EVONUE.com to learn more. There's also a link in the show notes. And be sure to tell them that the Accidental Entrepreneur referred you. This podcast is brought to you by our affiliate sponsor, iEmployee. iEmployee is a virtual assistant service that hires almost anyone for any role in your company right out of the Philippines. Most roles range from $7 to $9 an hour for highly skilled and experienced VAs. And whether you need an executive assistant, social media manager, video editor, customer service, sales, you name it, they have it. We use iEmployee for our VA services, from editing and promoting the podcast to all the PR and promotion of our law firm. iEmployee acts as a virtual field supervisor on the back end with live video monitoring and reports on a daily basis with screenshots of your VA's workday, and along with complete HR and payroll duties. No more paying for overpriced and underqualified workers. There's a link in the show notes to get a 1-week free trial, and I encourage you to take advantage of it.
This was in Groenlo, in the eastern part of Holland, close to the German border.
Scandinavian, got it.
Yeah. So anyway, so I was, completely enamored with this whole thing. I was like, my goodness, man. And the company was like, 70-something years old at the time, and I was like, they got roots, they got guts, they got innovation, they got everything, right? And they had a division that did long-range vehicle identification technology, which was another area that we'd looked at in the parking industry, for parking access, for tolling on highways like you have on the toll roads.
Right, like E-ZPass now? Right.
E-ZPass, exactly like that.
Yeah,
I mean, very similar.
Stage.
Right. The difference being that their technology could identify both the driver and the vehicle. So for security, you would have not only the car that was registered, but the driver that was driving it. You could then set the logic on the back of the system to allow or disallow access, right?
Got it.
So anyway, got completely enamored with this company, and before you know it, actually I went to The Hague to look at one of the another phone company that was in its upstart with this mobile phone parking thing. And when I was there, I called back to the factory and asked them if I could come back again. And then I went to a little town, Winterswijk, not too far away from Groenlo. And overnight, I sat on a squawking modem and researched and wrote a business plan. And I showed up with it the next day. I mean, it put the Dutch a little bit on their heels that I was so quick on the draw. But tell you what, I was on a severance check. I didn't have any time to wait.
Right, you're going to run out. So
I'm going to run out. That was going to limit my choices permanently.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, and that's led to a 25-year engagement now with NEDAP that has been very beneficial for us both. As within in Tuxen Associates, within what we call a business development agent, we actually represent and market and sell their product within that division. So we started them with nothing back then. They had no presence in the U.S. at all, and today we're all in North America, both Canada, the U.S., Latin America.
And what does the system do?
It's basically a perimeter access system, right? Long range perimeter access, where you have an identifying tag sitting in the vehicle, and you have a receiver sitting at the gate, and you can approach it at high speed. So, like for military installations, you want to get them inside, but you want to know it's the right thing, but you don't want to create a choke point at a gate where somebody can walk up on them. You want to identify them as they're approaching the gate and let them in and count for everybody, and then shut down them to a secure state.
Got it. So it's like the parking garage technology we have now, where you have a code on your windshield and it scans it, but it's more secure than that. You're dealing with high level security. Yeah,
we're dealing within our own spectrum. We're dealing within encrypted algorithms that and so the parking technology is mostly there to make sure that that the operator gets paid. Security has exactly the opposite, is to keep you out if you're not supposed to be there. So
I mean, I guess you could hijack a truck, right? And if the truck matches, comes in, but if it checks the driver as the wrong guy, right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the same thing with license plate reading. License plate reading has become very popular, but you could steal a license plate, or you could steal the vehicle that's on it, and then the AI that would be in the camera to say, is this plate on the right kind of vehicle, would be bypassed, right? Because it wouldn't know who the driver was.
Right.
So we've been very, very successful. It's a very narrow niche, but we've been very, very successful over the years in doing that.
Yeah, I guess right now, like the toll by mail systems, like if you're driving through a different state, they just mail you. If you have someone else's plate on your car, there's no AI that can connect the two. Yeah, they don't know that it's the wrong plate.
No, it'll go to whoever that plate was. Right, they'll go to whoever that plate was registered to.
Right. Yeah. But I guess in the future that'll change, right? The system will know that, will flag it and say, wait a second, this is on a van and it's supposed to be on a Toyota Corolla.
Yeah, exactly. As AI is becoming more prevalent, you get object recognition, right? It'll be able to tell the make, model, and color of the vehicle, right? So, and then you tie that to the plate, and now you've got, at least you've got the vehicle secured. You still don't have the driver involved on the fly, right? Which is the thing. I mean, it's like if the driver has to stop and interact in any way, then you create that choke point you're trying to avoid. So, so it's kind of high-level security. We're in with a lot of major companies that use it for manufacturing nuclear power plants, mines down in Chile, and all kinds of industrial type and high-level security applications.
So your company is basically a rep for them out of Scandinavia. And what do you do? All of North America or all of the Americas?
All of the Americas. Yeah, we've built out all of the Americas.
Central.
Yeah, we started here in North America and then started spreading our wings, in South America and into Canada, and now we're represented everywhere. But we work as an agent, so it's different than, so we basically work very closely with NEDAP on product development and market development, all of those things, right, to get the same effect that I used at Duncan, to go make sure the market information makes it back to product development and then be introduced to market, right?
Right.
Rather than getting on the podium and get a diploma for trying to be smart, So
right. Yeah, it's not like they contact you, hey, Gorm, this is what we're doing. So you want to sell it, and you go, well, but that's not what the market. So you're really on the side of saying, okay, well, we have these customers, this is their need.
Yeah.
and this would work, and then you help them with the development. So that's interesting. But you get paid from the transaction, right? I mean, you have your customer has the account, they're buying through you, and you're making money on the transaction.
Yeah, they're actually buying through NEDAP. NEDAP does their own fulfillment,
and they just pay you.
But we get paid for the activity and for the outcome, right? So it's a really nice business model for all parties involved, because it's different than an importer or a distributor. We sell to distributors, but we manage the flow to distributors, the interaction with the distributors, the marketing plans with the distributors, and all that. So
so you sell wholesale, and you also sell to the end user if the customer's doing direct business with you.
Yeah.
Got it. So as a consulting organization, like, how many people do you need? How big is your company?
We're 11 people.
Oh, you are 11 people.
And we cover all of that with 11 people. But we've gone about it in a very novel way, because if anything, COVID learned us how to be humble and how to continue outreach, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, there were different degrees of success with that whole debacle as far as communication is concerned. And we actually found a venue where we understood that our installers with the security companies were sitting at a desk because they couldn't go see customers. So for the first time in a long time, they had time to spend on getting educated. And we used that time to train like all get out, right? On this specialty application, and how this specialty application also drove the need for other technologies that they were also selling, but in a new area, not just for building access, because everything was pretty much building, but perimeter access was an area that was left mostly to fence companies and stuff. But all of a sudden, with the electronic integration, you needed smarts on the access, so it wasn't necessarily a gate company that was the best choice there. So we helped them build a business with a 10x multiplier, right? So both commercially and technologically, we were defining a new area for them to play in, and we had the attention of the installers during 2020 to really boost the business, and that actually turned out, you talk about accidental entrepreneur, that was pretty accidental, and we turned that into something that really helped boost the business. So
got it. But you're mostly selling in security. Like, you don't deal with like warehousing where they're worried about not necessarily security, but what's coming in, what's going out, what's in the truck, is the truck full, is the truck empty, like yard,
We'll do truck management for yard access, again, and there you can actually you could put a tag on the trailer and say it's the right truck with the right trailer with the right driver, right? So you tie the whole rig together. We have some technology that could deal with the goods inside. That's typically UHF. I mean, you see it everywhere. The radio frequencies in a lot of places. Walmart spent a lot of money on trying to recognize all goods on a truck, so they just had to scan a pallet.
Right, you have an RF tag on each of the boxes, and it tells them what's in there.
Exactly, and there's still some challenges in that technology because of obstruction and metals and whatever. But we're making our way there to where you can take that whole chain of custody and roll it out from the time something starts to the process ends. So. We're doing some process management on factory assembly lines and that kind of thing as well. Heck, in a funny story, in Colombia, we were tracking mules.
Mules?
Why? Yeah.
Because they're the ones
but they were carrying sugar, supposedly.
So there were tags on the mules?
Yeah, we had tags on the mules.
Okay. Well, you got to track them somehow, right?
You got to track them somehow. So we a lot of application areas that we have found for a very narrow technology, right? I mean, we started with one reader and 5 tags, and people would tell, how can you make a business out of that? Well, you've really got to drill down the narrative and make some smart choices about placement very early on, So, but we managed to pull that off, so that's been very gratifying over the years.
So, with all the stuff that they do, how is all the technology and AI, how's that affecting, like, you probably need less people to do things. You have access to more data. How's it all been affected?
Yeah, I mean, it's for gate access, for instance. I mean, during the Iraq War, we were in serious negotiations with a large military contractor on automating all gate access to the military bases because everybody were deployed.
Right.
So
No, there was nobody there to let them
there was
in.
nobody
basically.
there, right? So they had to hire security guards to, the tune of billions of dollars to basically protect the bases. So,
Right.
so we got pretty far down that on pretty much having an electronic sentinel that would check several different things, as you approach the gate, depending on what the security level was at any given
Right.
time.
If it's a truck with a bomb, you want to kind of know that before it gets to the gate.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we would combine video technology with RF technology, with license plate, anything we could get on anything that approached the gate, and then say, depending on if you're at a heightened level, all of it has to match, And then if you're at a lower level security, well, then we will take whatever we think is the most key credential and recognize that and let you in with that. And that'll, pass the, and then it would inform the back-end system also if you had a violation to go into
Right.
an escalated state, right? So,
Yeah, right, to notify
yeah,
people.
yeah,
Exactly. That's
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I also know that you dabble in other things. So you have other projects and other companies and things going on. What are you doing now? You mentioned aircraft, I think. in
Yeah,
Dubai.
so I'm a pilot of many years, so
Okay.
private pilot, and so I have a passion for aviation. So the latest thing I'm involved in is an ownership share in a company down in Arkansas called Modern Chemical, and it's a fun little company. They've been in business for 50 years. They were founded by a gentleman who was a tail gunner on a B-22 during the war, but he was also the crew chief, and he was dealing with all these toxic chemicals, for engine cleaning and stuff. And so after the war, he said, "There's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way to do this thing."
Right.
And so he partnered up with a chemical engineer and developed the first environmentally friendly engine degreasing cleaner for
Okay.
aviation, because that was his bag at the time, right?
Right.
So that company is now going through its fourth generation changeover, and I'm taking a stake in the company to help them get into more commercial branding, broader spectrum of verticals, and get the product introduced, because it's an incredible product. I mean, it's blue gold, and you talk about taking bucks off of things. Airplanes get bucks all over them, right? And then they dry up and you can't get them off. But this compound actually makes them bleed right off. I mean, like front of a car, for instance. I mean, I don't know how many times I've been down there scrubbing, trying to get stuff
Yeah,
up.
bugs. You need
Yeah,
bugs.
I know.
Bug remover doesn't work that well.
Right, right. So it goes in and actually dissolves the proteins in the bugs, and they just kind of bleed off.
Yeah.
Which it's just an underrepresented product, and a couple of young people that I really enjoy working with that are now heading it up. So, I get the chance to continue to be relevant and play with some of the things I've learned over the years. And
So you're taking your marketing and you're repping the product, but you're also investing now in the company. You're an owner.
yeah. We're basically investing in the company. Yeah. So.
Okay, good. And so you got a lot of stuff going on all the time.
Yeah,
You keep yourself
yeah.
busy.
Yeah.
And you're an author, right? So you
Yes.
wrote Immigrant Entrepreneurship in America, right? Is that
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe
Yeah.
you could tell us about that book. What kind of inspired you to write it, and then some of the principles that you've written about that you provided in the book.
So one thing that I really wanted to do was, I felt tremendously blessed by all these different experiences I've had, and it hasn't been an easy path. You'll see a curved road in the front of the book. That's pretty much a symbol for how it's gone. It's never been a straight line. It's always been,
Life doesn't happen in a straight
doesn't happen that way. It's not a railroad, So,
Right.
so I wanted to share some of that to give other people inspiration, and by virtue of my own, kind of selected stories as a reference, tell aspiring entrepreneurs or people that are entrepreneurs, kind of refresh their perspective on what is entrepreneurism and what does it require and how are you successful. And more important than anything, what do you learn from failure? And
A lot, right?
A lot. And that's why you don't learn anything from success. You learn
You
things.
really don't. Isn't that ironic? That's the irony of life. Everybody wants to be successful, but you don't learn enough to maintain success, right?
No, I mean, a lot of people that get too much success early on wind up wiping out later
Yeah.
because some of the basic things weren't learned. So,
Right.
I mean, I've gone through this whipping boy act, for many years, and I've really come to appreciate it. I mean, it's like, oh wow, here's another challenge. At the early years, it's pretty gut wrenching. I mean, and you're emotional about it. I mean, most entrepreneurs are very emotional about what they're doing, which is okay. You turn all the antennas. Yeah, you're passionate. Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
They turn all the antennas on, which is fine. But you have to decipher what it is you're bringing into those antennas. And, my old dad used to say, trust your gut, but I've come to learn not so much. After analysis,
I don't think, there was a guy I had on the show. He's like a neuroscientist.
Yeah.
And he wrote a book, something like, don't ever trust your gut.
Yeah.
That's not a good way to make decisions.
That's the last filter. Yeah.
It's not good. Yeah.
Because a lot of times you wind up doing something that's counterintuitive, and that's called risk.
Right.
So
you're just doing something that kind of makes you feel good, and you're like, well, I think that makes sense to me. But
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, you're wrong about what the customer wants, what their needs are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a common problem with business owners that don't ask the question, like you said early on, what do these customers need? What does the marketplace need? Forget about what we're making.
Yeah.
We got to make it for the right people, right?
Yeah. That's exactly right. That's it. There has to have operational relevance.
Yeah.
You have something with operational relevance, your cash flow will look a lot better than if you don't. And it informs the entire business development process, because that's going to tell you how much money you need and for how long to get to a sustainable level, right? So, I talk about bootstrapping. I talk about in the book, I talk about, how you shouldn't sell your risk downline before you know that it's actually something that's viable, because you just wind up complicating your life is all you do.
Yeah, and just hoping that it works, and you're winging it, and then you spend all this money because you didn't bootstrap.
Yeah.
You want to minimize your expenses and your failures, right? So if you make a mistake, hopefully it's not a big mistake because you didn't spend a lot of money on it.
Yes, I mean, a lot of people think the first thing they need to do is do fundraising.
Right, raise capital.
I mean, that's what everybody talks about, right? I need some angel money.
Right.
Well, hello, why would an angel give you money? You haven't even really thought about what you're going to do,
You need a well thought out business plan.
And there is stupid money out there, no question about
it.
The only problem is stupid money has has a memory, and it'll come back and haunt you later. Nobody talks about what happens when the tax man shows up at your front door and put a lien on your house. I mean, it's like those realities don't go away. It's not like somehow because you get angel capital that you're shielded from any kind of liability. Whoever you got involved is going to try to get every dime out of it. I'm sure you know all about that from your vantage.
Yeah, of course. Even though they're probably wealthy, they can absorb the risk. They know 9 times out of 10 doesn't work. They're not happy about it either. So
they're going to try to get up the top of the priority distribution list when things go sideways, right? So now you're left with nothing or less than nothing, and it's better to be there by yourself than have a whole bunch of people, hovering over you for a long time after whatever.
People also do it, with friends and family. They're just raising friends and family money who trust you, who think that you've done your due diligence and are careful. And if you're going with your gut, you're just spending their money, and it's not good for relationships. And those are the kind of people that probably can't absorb the loss.
And they're your family.
Right.
I mean, there's two things that don't mix: is money and family. Yeah. I mean, it's that was one thing my dad taught me early on. You can have friends, but you can have money with friends. Okay, I mean, it's like because invariably something's going to go sideways, and it's going to require bandwidth that you shouldn't expect be there for that at that moment.
Yeah, no. You have to really think out what you're doing and have it planned out. And even if you do end up taking money from friends and family, you're the steward of their money, right? So you have to give it your best, shot. You do the work, do the research, talk to people. You don't need their money to talk to people, right? You don't need their money to do research.
It doesn't cost you anything. If you live on little, stay living on little.
Right, exactly.
Don't go out and hire a bunch of people thinking that that's going to make you smarter. No, that's your obligation. If you're really passionate about this, you need to test your assumptions. And with the research tools and AI and everything else available today, there's really not any good excuse not to do it. right?
Now there's tools. I mean, it really is the advent of the small business owner. They can do things that 20 or 30 years ago only large corporations can do.
Oh my gosh! When I did the research for setting up the subsidiary in the U.S. for the Danish furniture company, I had to go to the U.S. Embassy in Copenhagen, go to their library, copy hundreds of pages, and take it back and research it all and connecting the dots. Are you kidding me? I was looking at one book, one statistic, one something. That was my job to do.
Yeah. Now you can do it probably behind a computer in the United States.
Type in AI, I'll give you all the reference points. It'll give you all that stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh! I mean, this is just crazy.
We've come a long way. But you're right. But people, they still don't do the work though. Then they should.
But it's because they get so bought into they have a fabulous idea.
Bought in is.
It's funny, Mitch, because you see the people that go, oh, I saw somebody do that. I had that idea years ago. I should have just done something about it, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's about using your peripheral vision and then acting on it, right? I mean, if you really saw it, act. I mean, it's not gonna. It doesn't work well in the rearview mirror, So it's all about perspective, And the other thing with the book is the public dialogue about immigration, right? So immigration is such an intertwined part of who we are as a nation. It's also an intertwined part of our labor force, presently and going forward, and it's a political issue that nobody either can or have the political will to resolve, because in my mind it wouldn't be that hard. There's some pretty stupid policies out there for how we get legal immigrants in that should probably be reworked so we can get the best of the best.
Because I think when people, Gorm, think about immigration, they're thinking about the people that are working in the fields and working on the shop floor. But there are very intelligent, smart people who come to this country and bring their knowledge from other places that we miss out on.
Yeah.
When all this
I have some references to that in the book. I mean, if you look at people that have come in and changed the country, I mean, Intel, Tesla. I mean, you could go down the line, and the vast majority of them are people that came in on kind of high level visas, right? And brought something and did something and created thousands and thousands of jobs.
Right.
Changed
the world.
It changed the world right here with us, because we are, the best environment to do that in, financially and every other way. And if you're from the outside, you come to recognize that very quickly, that one thing this country has is opportunity. I mean, the American dream is by no means dead. I mean, it just really pains me when I hear people say, oh, the American dream is dead. They say, well,
just going through a tough time.
just going through a tough time. Get over it, all right? Maybe
the irony of it, Gorm, is that we are really, unless you're a Native American, you're really an immigrant. Like, everyone came from other places except the Native Americans.
Right, and most Americans will tell you their lineage, right? I'm Irish of descent or Scottish, and we have a curiosity as a people about that. And then at the same time, we can turn around and throw the baby out with the bathwater on immigration and go, oh, no, we don't need it. I don't care if it's legal or not legal. We just don't need anybody. We need to cut everything out, and then we can do everything. Well, if we cut ourselves off from the rest of the world,
none of this stuff will happen. Right.
The home stretch
We're not that smart. We need other people.
Right. I mean, the home stretch is just going to be that much harder, right?
Yeah.
So, I think some reform is needed there, and there are lots of people, like me that have come here and seen that. I mean, one of the things when you see as an immigrant is the first thing you know is what you don't know.
Right.
And that's an abundance of things, because you don't know anything. Right. But what it also does is you don't have a trained idea of what it is. So things that stand out in the landscape to you may not stand out in the landscape to others, because you're learning all the time.
Sure.
Right.
You notice things that other people don't notice because they've been living here too long.
Exactly. So that's one of the things with the immigrant perspective brings as well, is to find opportunities where others haven't seen them, right? It's because your acuity is just different. I mean, it's just on a different bandwidth. You're learning all the time. You try to, very quickly you find out extrapolating between the known and the unknown doesn't work, because there's a lot of times no connection. There's just different cultures, different opportunities, different things. And then you start getting away from using your past to inform your future and just go, well, it's all about the future going forward, you know. So, so and I think that, you know, as a perspective, you know, an entrepreneur can do a lot with that. Say, get out of the forest. When you get too far in the forest, step out. Just do a simple thing. Do an assumption check and go, I'm just going to, for a minute, say, I know nothing.
Right.
If it's a sales situation, I'm going to walk over on the other side of the desk and listen to myself for 5 minutes to see if that makes any sense, right?
Yeah.
That's a simple thing.
People don't do that, right?
No. And like we talked about, if it's a product development thing, is it relevant or isn't it relevant? Or how could it be?
Like, don't be so in love with whatever idea you have.
Yeah.
And just think it's the greatest thing. And then you put all this money in, you got a warehouse full of stuff, and nobody's buying it.
Nobody's buying it. And you're broken and disenchanted about the whole thing because you didn't take a methodical approach to it and said, okay, I have to isolate my own excitement from what is really viable, and then use my skills to do placement and understand and fine tune, connect the dots,
and ask and talk and research
all the time.
People don't like that. That's not so sexy. That's not so exciting. They want to get the product and get it out there, and they're going to sell them. Get on Shark Tank, they're going to sell 10 million units,
Exactly.
and they don't know all the things that are going on behind the scenes for these people.
No, it perpetuates our entire culture, right?
It does, really.
Then also our value proposition is interesting, right? At the same time, we're trying to get a lower work week and more time to be with the kids and all this other stuff. We want, you know, more money, and we're still defining everything by money. I mean, how much money do you have in your bank account? That is success.
Right.
No, that is not success.
No.
Success is being of value to others and creating value for others. Then you never have to worry about yourself. I mean, it's like if you find your value in kind of a serving attitude, then you can never go wrong because you'll always be happy, you know. And that's why people at all layers of society can be perfectly happy with where they are,
of course.
right? And not be judged based on whether they live in a mansion or whether they live in a shack, you know.
Right, what kind of car they drive, the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Well,
so-
Gorm, I assume the book is available on Amazon, right?
It's available on Amazon and all bookstores, you know, here and
Are there
overseas.
bookstores left anymore? I don't know if there are bookstores around anymore. They all closed around me.
Yeah, I know. But Amazon's got it. They ship very quickly, and again, it's
Okay, we'll put a
Immigrant
link in the show
Entrepreneurship.
notes for the book. And what's a good way if people want to connect with you and see what you're doing? Are you on LinkedIn or?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. That's a good
Okay.
place to get me. I've put a little group together, like a discussion forum around immigration and entrepreneurship that I'm trying to bring some, because I'm trying to learn more too. I really want people talking
That's
about
just
it,
like
right?
like a LinkedIn group they can join for free.
Yeah,
And just,
and then talk about entrepreneurship, immigrant perspectives, whatever you know it inspires you to talk about, and get some. And I have lots of people that are immigrants and stuff, and that I thought maybe that could be a little benefit, a little something, so that you can access that through that through my LinkedIn page. You can also go to tuxengroup.com. And at tuxengroup.com, it shows the different companies, and it has a link to the book, and it has a link to the LinkedIn group and all that kind of stuff too.
We'll put that link in the show notes as well. Well, I can't thank you enough for joining me. I apologize for the technical stuff of getting connected this morning.
No problem.
I got to figure out what happened with that, but I can't thank you enough. And enjoy your weekend. I don't know what's going on out in Missouri, but it's iffy this weekend in Jersey. It's cold, it's hot, going to be warm, it's going to rain. It's got all kinds of things going on.
Yeah. Here we're getting some thunderstorms and maybe tornadoes today. So
probably that's what we're getting Saturday because they tend to come across the country from you and then hit us. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, thanks again, Gorm, and
thank
we'll
you
stay
for
in touch.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Let me know how I can support you, and
Awesome.
and I'd love to stay in touch. So
All right, I appreciate it.
okay.
In addition to being a podcast host, I'm also a small business attorney, mostly providing legal services in New York and New Jersey. With over 3 decades of experience, we can handle most transactional issues. So if you're watching the show and you encounter some sort of legal issue, reach out to us and visit our website, beinhakerlaw.com. Thanks for tuning into the show and for continuing to support us.